Like cultivating.
All right, yeah, let's get to it. Taji, go ahead, love.
Hey, what's up? How y'all doing, man? This is my
Good. What to
first
do?
first space in I don't know how long, at least like maybe 2 months. But I'm happy to be back. I see not much has changed. But first of all, I just want to say that conservatives, like as I said in my YouTube video, I just put it in the jumbotron. We should be happy about this. All right, we should be happy about Zohran Mamdani. There's a lot of scholarship around some of the policies that he proposed and how they fail, oftentimes. But there's always a chance that they could be wrong. The Thomas Sowell's and Milton Friedman's, as far as things like rent, price control and rent freeze and all of that stuff. Um, but either way it goes, if we actually do give two cares about the poor, then we should be happy if it works. And if it doesn't work, then conservatives actually have a stance to a principled stance, not just an abstract stance against socialism. Another thing too. Now, when we talk about his identity, I just torched that Matt Nuclear kid on the same thing, where we're like he's like calling him a Muslim socialist as if socialism in itself is evil, as if being a Muslim in itself is evil. Um, that's actually not what makes us political neighbors. This is countless literature about this by people on the right, by conservatives. So the thing that makes us political neighbors is obviously that the fact that we settled, as it were, because not everybody settled, but another conversation for another day, on the same landmass. All right, and the thing that actually helps us resolve these types of disputes and remember our identity as a whole, remember the whole of who we are, is actually our founding documents. So unless Mamdani like broke a law to get elected, I don't really think we have strong footing to like say that he doesn't deserve to be in this position. Now, can we criticize the policies, of course, but I think the identity stuff is actually like fracturing the right so much, and the reason why is just because uh I think we're confused about what our essential features actually are. Like it's not necessarily white male Christian. It's not necessarily, black slave. It's not necessarily any of these things that we like to say. It's not necessarily FBA in itself. Even though I am, I do have the lineage. Um, and so I think because of that, right? Like because we aren't necessarily looking at America by its essential features, but rather by its accidental features. I think that we are losing this country to people who have real life issues that they're facing every day. So, like when we talk about Zoran, instead of talking about his religion, like I'm a Christian, okay, sure. So I would love to have more Christians in positions of power, like real people who really believe in Yeshua. Okay, fine. But instead of talking about his religion and his race, instead of politically labeling him as if there's no political truth within socialism, we should be considering why people actually bought into his promises. Clearly, it's because there's something true and fundamental about the current, position that people are in. People are struggling. People are having real life issues that we're facing, and it's not rooted in identity. That stuff, I honestly think exists on the internet. I don't like when I talk to
So
people, white,
I
black.
need you to tell me. I need you to tell me that real life struggle, please.
So some people. So there are people that are poor, and rent is expensive in New York,
Why are they poor?
and well, okay. So let's not. So let me just be very clear about something, right? They could be poor for whatever reason, but part of what it means to be a conservative, and there's countless literature on this, I can cite it if you need me to, but part of what it means to be a conservative is to understand the value of social membership. So our job as conservatives is really to extend the benefits of social membership to those less fortunate. Now, how we do it is the question. How we do it is the
Okay,
question.
wait,
That's
before
always been the
before we
political
go
question.
there, but you've touched on several different topics. I
Okay.
can't. Okay, so first of all, we do have examples of socialism not working.
Yeah,
It does work
absolutely.
for just one moment. It does work for a very brief period of time, and then it collapses because the money runs out, and then the government completely takes control with universal basic income, and it's impossible to direct your own life and your own desires and wishes. And unfortunately, with your candidate there in New York that you referenced, there's something called the citizenship
Wait, why are you
oath.
calling him my?
Um,
Wait. Slow down, slow down. Why are you calling Zohran Mamdani my candidate? Why are you saying that?
in reference to you referencing him.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
when you come here, there's something called the citizenship oath. It's also known as like the oath of allegiance. It is the last step in becoming a
Mm-hmm.
citizen, and basically, it's a pledge where individuals renounce allegiance to any foreign power and swear to support and defend the U.S. Constitution and laws. The oath is administered during a naturalization ceremony, typically held in a formal setting. And this is pulled from both Google and Grok as a reference to make sure.
Okay.
It's sourced 7 different sites on the internet. So beyond his political stance, he is threatening his his, I'm sorry, not natural born, but his acquired citizenship here by not only trying to change the landscape of what is aligned with the US Constitution and the laws, okay, helping people aside. uh, I just, I'm sorry,
Okay,
I'm
can
just
can I
unclear.
have questions. I have a few questions. So, okay, so
Well,
there's
but,
okay.
but before we go there, um, it's interesting that you come in here defending this individual
I'm not defending
who
him.
who has expressed such hatred for this country, who's
Okay.
also funded by a family that's known to have started multiple, let's just say, distasteful entities. Let's go with that.
Okay.
I find that fascinating. But cultivating, I feel like you opened your mic and I may have cut you off.
So
Sorry, no,
first,
go ahead.
yeah. So first of all, I'm not defending Zohran. What I'm saying is that the way that we actually attack Zohran is how he won. Because we're not actually we're so identitarian right now, like we're so concerned with um like the sort of genetic aspects, which is a fallacy by the way, but the sort of genetic aspects
Sir, where
of a
is the
person's
money gonna come from?
hold on, slow. I don't want to be badgered.
Where's the money for the free food and the free
Listen,
daycare going to come from, sir?
listen. I don't endorse Zoran's policies. In fact, 4 months ago, before you guys were even thinking about this dialogue, before you guys were even thinking about the consequences, I put out a video where I explained in detail every aspect of his policy platform and use sources to explain why they're likely to fail, why they've been tried before, and why they're going to result in more poor people, more homelessness, etc. So I don't need to sit here and do the badgering thing with you. I'm just not going to do that. I've already explained
No,
that.
the point.
Now
No,
I'm
no, no,
talking about
no. Wait. The point is,
something new.
wait. The
Um,
point is that
okay.
Zoran did not build America. His ancestors did not build this country. So what is he
Mm-hmm.
doing
Well,
when
he got a
he shouldn't be there in the first place?
okay.
That's the conversation, brother. We're
So
not.
wait. Okay. So we can talk about that. So, uh. is the assumption here that because
The
someone
assumption is
didn't,
the demographic that he represents does not represent him. That
I
they are
mean, he
being
stood on a
installed.
stage. Wait.
They're
Can I
chaos
just
actors.
Okay, so but
That's all this is.
he also stood on a stage in the middle of a debate where everybody was talking about they would go to Israel after they won winning, and he said, "No, I'm going to stay here and worry about what's going on in New York." So this idea that he just necessarily has to have a foreign allegiance, I think is
No one brought
hogwash.
up foreign
But
allegiance.
however, I did find it very interesting that we want to say that because of the because he wants to reshape the landscape of what's going on in New York, that he somehow violating his oath that he took when he became a citizen allegedly. I think that that's ridiculous. I think the reason why that's ridiculous is because politicians always want to change the landscape of what's going on. That's something that everybody runs on. Even Trump said that he wanted to change but we wouldn't say that he's acting antithetical to American principles because again, the law of the land here is the United States Constitution. The United States Constitution does not prohibit Zohran Mamdani from being the mayor of New York City.
Why do I hear
Therefore,
just political talk? Why do I hear just
what do you
political
mean?
talk from you? You're like a politician. You know, I've never heard so
I'm
many
not a politician.
platitudes. No, it's obvious the way the energy is so politician. It's crazy, bro.
Why
Like,
is it? What's
have your
politician
own,
about it?
like, bring your own thoughts into this thing.
No, these are my
please, and
own
stop
thoughts.
boring. You're
These are my
boring
own
us with
thoughts.
platitudes. Yeah, no.
These are my own thoughts. I just think I think sensibility these days is just not interesting, and that's fine. That's a different thing. But nobody's actually challenging me on the substantive argument that I'm making, which is that this is an opportunity for conservatives to win big if he fails. And if it works, even in the short term, we should be happy because people need help. And humanity is good. Empathy is good. There's nothing controversial about it. So maybe there's
something very controversial about you saying that there's no examples in history of socialism failing, sir.
I've said that. No, I've never said that. In fact,
yes, you said that the conservatives and Christian had this idea that it doesn't work, and they just pulled it out of their butt. Basically, I'm paraphrasing.
No.
Yes, you did. Did he
not
not
what I
cultivating?
said.
That's not what he was saying.
So actually, I spoke to the contrary. The contrary that I spoke to was that, for instance, Dr. Soul in Basic Economics listed off every aspect of how Zohran's policies fail, and I made a YouTube about it and explaining why it wouldn't be good for him to win. So I don't know how you're misinterpreting that, but not once have I ever defended Zohran Mamdani's policies. What I said is, though, that we can get out of abstraction now and just saying that socialism is bad and seeing what socialism does and having a practical fight to fight, basically. That's what I'm saying, and I don't know what's controversial about that.
Well, what's controversial is the consolidation element. When you consolidate anything, right? This is why Jesus came. This is why the languages, not Jesus, this is why the languages at Babylon were broken apart, because decentralization is the only thing godly, and that centralization equals power equals evil, and that's it. That's the so what needs.
That's
I think
abstract,
what needs to be
brother.
It's not abstract.
How do you explain that? How do you explain that to people? Because I in part agree with what you're saying. I don't agree with your framing. I think your framing is wrong, but I agree in principle, though. But in practice, like, how do you get a struggling mother to understand what you're saying?
But you just said you don't agree with his policies. So which is it?
So I don't agree with his policies. I'm asking the question: how do you think people bought into his promises? What do you think motivated them to do so?
How are you judging a society lacking in moral character? How are you basing your decision on a complete change between capitalism and socialism on an immoral society? Please explain that to me right now.
I don't understand the question. However, I'm not. I don't believe that Zohran is gonna, like, he calls himself a democratic socialist, but he's actually a socialist Democrat. So I don't believe that he's gonna do
so
half
we're
the things.
goalpost moving now.
No, I'm not.
Fascinating.
No,
this is good times. Carry on.
I'm criticizing him. I don't understand why you can't understand that he's being critiqued heavily here, but that's what's happening. What I'm saying is that I don't believe he's going to deliver on any of his promises. And because he's not going to deliver on any of his promises, we as conservatives, ones who are like policy oriented, political activists, like people who actually move in the community, door knock, door tag, etc., we are going to be able to just simply, for instance, print out literature that says, hey, we tried it, it failed. We are going to be able to simply just mail a fucking flyer that says, hey, we tried the socialism thing. You guys got your way. He didn't deliver on his promises. Let's move in the opposite direction. This stuff is not good. I don't know what's controversial about that, but I digress.
All right. Who's next?
Cultivating. I wanted to say a couple things just real quick.